You see, thousands of years ago, when Yahweh sent the Jews into captivity, and that was about the time of, that was actually Nebuchadnezzar, when Nebuchadnezzar conquered the city of Jerusalem. And from that time on, those 2,520 years. Now, the beginning of the end of that period, within an hour, was 1917. And within an hour at the end of that period, Jerusalem was handed back to General Allenby. And the prophecy was that the man who conquered that, or took that city, without firing a shot, as angels flying, would have a name of the surrounding god. They call him a god. Well, his name, amongst all the tribes of Al-Anabi, apparently something to do with son of Allah or something like that. And so when the Turks saw these brochures that had been dropped from those aircraft as angels flying, they thought they were fighting a god or one of the sons of Allah, and they marched out the city, only to be told by God, the capital, to get back in again. But they couldn't get it back in because the British, who had not fired a shot, stopped them. They had 13 attacks. And they were told that if they could get in the city, they could have the city for a whole day or 2 days. And they could have their way with all the women and everything else. And they fought like billiard to get in. They never got in. That's a multi-part prophecy. And these nations are being punished. And this nation here went against this command because they went against the Balfour Declaration. Can you imagine? After the Second World War, and I'm British, we took the Jews and put them into concentration camps in Israel and in other places to keep them from getting back to Israel. Although we'd agreed that that was the situation. Then we stripped the guns off them every time we found them, so that when the enemies wanted to attack them, everybody thought Israel would be destroyed. And it wasn't destroyed. It's still there today. Stronger, more powerful. Economically, it's very powerful now in the whole area. Billions are pouring into that nation because they need the intelligence of those people to do what's got to be done. And this is all prophecy. But they're still not out the wood, and we can talk about that later. There are a few other problems. But there is a lot to discuss, and I want to bring this particular video to an end. I just felt as though I had to give you a bit of an understanding why I believe in that book. Because it is unerringly accurate on so many things. So many things that the church is not telling you about. So many things in archaeology and in science, in history. I listened to them saying, for instance, there's no evidence for the Exodus, for instance. Well, that is because the city of Avaris, where it started from, Avaris, is kept buried. They won't even allow you to excavate there. One man managed to get in again, and he was supposed to be looking at the Ahmoses. That was the pharaoh at the time. He said he was interested in Ahmoses, and after many, many years, he managed to get permission to go in, but he wasn't really interested. He wanted to look to see if the Israelites were there, had been there. And while he was there, he found all the artifacts and everything for the Israelites. They'd had to dig it up, and they found artifacts, the rings, the seals, the names of the Bible people in that city. And he said, while he's doing this, he's showing the police stood there. They didn't understand what was going on, fortunately. And he's saying, look what we found, but look what these guys are watching us because they don't want us to do this, actually. And the name of the pharaoh they're looking for is Ahmoses, which means brother of Moses. Then you've got evidence now. We're not only evidence, there's lots of pictures. And I've got them on my website, which is called yahwehnews.com. And if you go there, you'll see pictures of these things. The chariot wheels, the shackles, the horses, etc., all under the Red Sea on that land bridge, 300 foot down. It slopes, comes to a shallow slope to a depth of 300 foot, and it goes a shallow slope back the other side. And 2 pillars were on the other side. They keep on saying there's no evidence of the Exodus. I just don't understand. I just cannot. I mean, we're listening to a lot of these archaeologists, a lot of these history films that come on Sky, etc. It reminds me of watching a Model T Ford as being the most recent car on the market, you know. I mean, it doesn't have windows. It doesn't have heaters. It doesn't have much power. It's got a terrible steering, terrible suspension. You know, it's a car not of this time. And a lot of those films that say all these things is very much like looking at the Model T Ford. It's not up to date. And that is a thing that I just want to tell you as well. So you're being sadly misled. And I've spent most of my life. I had never intended to do this. I'm not a member of a church. The reason I'm not a member of a church is because I find them absolutely useless and hypocritical. They don't even believe. I've had ministers here and they've told me that's all a feel-good factor. And, you know, because he was a guest in my home, I sort of let him, I was very polite to him and let him go out. Because honestly, I was very cross when he said that, because I know that's how he's leading the people down the road wrongly. I can provide you with lots of proof and evidence for this. See, I had very thin faith when I came in. I didn't come from a religious family at all. Mine was secular. And if I attended the church, it interfered really with my surfing, my yachting, my swimming, because I was living in Africa and I didn't want to be sat in that church. And I only had to be there because I was in a boarding establishment and they required us to go there on a Sunday morning, and I couldn't wait for 10 o'clock to come around and straight out to the beach or whatever. So I didn't come from with a religious background at all. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you on the next video. Thank you very much. And in that, we'll go on to other stuff, which is very, very important.